Have you ever felt like life is a relentless storm? One minute you're calm, the next, insults, challenges, and chaos come crashing down, threatening to shatter your peace. Sound familiar? I know I have. It's like being a small boat in a turbulent sea, tossed around by waves of negativity. But what if I told you there's a way to build an inner fortress, a sanctuary of calm that remains unshaken, no matter the storm? In today's video, we're diving deep into 10 transformative Buddhist principles that can show you exactly how to achieve this unshakable state of mind. These aren't just ancient philosophies, they're practical, everyday tools to help you navigate modern life with grace and unwavering peace. It's about creating your own personal safe haven. The Buddha himself said, "Peace comes from within. Do not seek it without." So, if you're ready to rise above insults, navigate challenges with strength, and finally step into the life you truly deserve, then buckle up, my friend, and let's get started. Principle number 1, insults and offense. The power of the uncaught stone. Picture this. You're strolling along a quiet path, and someone hurls a stone into a still pond. The surface ripples for a moment, but soon enough, it returns to its natural calm. Life's like that pond, and insults are the stones thrown our way. But the key? We decide if those ripples turn into tidal waves. Buddhist philosophy teaches us that insults only harm us if we let them. The words of others, no matter how cutting, hold no real power unless we choose to absorb them, to internalize them. It's like picking up that heavy rock, long after it's been thrown, and carrying it around. The Buddha put it so well, holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. But why do we do this? Why do we replay those hurtful moments? The problem lies in attachment. Attachment to the need for approval, validation, even a sense of justice. We take someone else's negativity and make it our own, eroding our peace. Think about it. A coworker criticizes your work, a friend makes a thoughtless remark that stings. What if you could see that negativity for what it is? A reflection of their inner struggle, not your worth. Building emotional resilience starts with a shift in perspective. When someone throws an insult your way, ask yourself, am I obligated to catch it? Just as you wouldn't drink a cup of poison someone offered, you don't have to internalize their negativity. Let it pass, like the ripples on a pond, knowing they'll fade if you don't cling to them. Here's a simple practice. When faced with criticism, pause and breathe. Imagine the insult as a cloud drifting in the sky. Acknowledge it, then let it float away. This small act of mindfulness creates a barrier between you and the negativity, allowing you to respond instead of react. Ultimately, your peace is your power. Don't hand it over so easily. Remember, the ripple may appear, but the pond will always return to calm. I remember a time years ago when I was starting out in my career. I was so eager to impress that when my boss criticized my work during a meeting, I took it incredibly personally. I obsessed over his words for days, letting them eat away at my confidence and happiness. It wasn't until I began practicing mindfulness that I realized his words were more a reflection of his own stress and perfectionism, and not a true measure of my capabilities. That was the beginning of my understanding that I alone am responsible for my emotional well-being. It was a profound turning point for me. Principle number 2, be strict with yourself, tolerant of others. The mountain climber's journey. Picture yourself climbing a mountain. You've mapped your path, packed your gear, and set your pace. You notice other climbers, some struggling, some moving fast, others wandering off course. It's easy to feel frustrated or judgmental. But what if you shifted your focus? What if you concentrated on your climb while extending patience to others on their journeys? This principle is about holding yourself to high standards while showing compassion for the imperfections in others. The Buddha reminded us, you yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. But that love must also extend outward. We often fall into extremes, judging ourselves harshly, while also expecting perfection from others. Or we let our own discipline slide, justifying it by pointing out others' shortcomings. Both lead to frustration and strained relationships. Let's bring this wisdom into today's world. Imagine you've committed to a healthier lifestyle. You're waking up early, exercising, making thoughtful food choices. But a close friend skips workouts and indulges in junk food. It's tempting to criticize them or feel superior. But the truth is, everyone's mountain is different. Your journey is yours to own, and theirs is theirs to navigate. Being strict with yourself doesn't mean being harsh. It means staying committed to your principles, even when it's inconvenient. It's choosing kindness when anger feels easier. Tolerance for others means recognizing that not everyone is on the same chapter of their story. So next time you notice someone struggling, pause. Remind yourself they're climbing their own mountain. This principle strengthens self-discipline, and it fosters deeper connections. When you stop expecting perfection from the world, you create space for authenticity and growth, both in yourself and those around you. The lesson is clear: hold yourself to your highest standard, but let others unfold in their own time. Just as the mountain doesn't judge the climbers, neither should you. I used to have this friend, incredibly talented and creative, but plagued by a crippling fear of failure. I would push her to take chances, to apply to opportunities she deserved, growing frustrated when she wouldn't follow through. But I was so blinded by my own drive for accomplishment that I didn't see that her journey was different from mine. It wasn't until I started focusing on supporting her, rather than pushing her, that I saw her find her own path to success. It was then I understood the true meaning of being strict with myself and tolerant of others. Principle number 3, transform everyone into a teacher, the unexpected lesson. Think about a moment when someone truly tested your patience. A colleague who dismissed your ideas, a stranger who cut you off in traffic, a loved one who said something that stung. It's easy to feel frustrated, even angry. But what if, instead of reacting, you paused and asked yourself, what is this moment trying to teach me? This is the wisdom behind this principle. Transform everyone into a teacher. Every interaction, whether pleasant or challenging, holds a lesson if we're willing to see it. The Buddha said, when watching after yourself, you watch after others. When watching after others, you watch after yourself. In learning from others, we grow ourselves. Life is full of lessons disguised as inconveniences. The friend who tests your patience teaches you tolerance. The co-worker who competes with you reveals the importance of self-assurance. Even those who hurt you can teach you about forgiveness, resilience, or the boundaries you need to protect your peace. When you adopt this perspective, the world becomes your classroom, and every person, no matter how difficult, becomes a teacher. Consider this. Imagine working on a group project where one person constantly misses deadlines. Frustration rises. You might want to confront them with anger. But what if you viewed this as an opportunity to practice assertive communication or strengthen your problem-solving skills? Suddenly, the situation transforms from a stressor into a chance for growth. This mindset shift doesn't mean accepting bad behavior. It's about reframing the narrative. Instead of seeing someone as a problem, see them as a mirror reflecting something you can learn. To embrace this principle, try this practice. Next time someone frustrates you, breathe deeply and ask, what is this teaching me? Write it down if you need to. This shifts your perspective from reaction to curiosity. This approach not only reduces stress, but also empowers you. When you transform every experience into a lesson, you take control of your growth. Challenges become stepping stones, and even life's most difficult interactions lose their power to derail your peace. The lesson here is, every person you encounter has something to teach you if you're willing to listen. By embracing this truth, you navigate life with curiosity, resilience, and an unshakable sense of calm. I remember a particularly challenging period in my life when I found myself surrounded by negativity and criticism. It was tempting to react defensively and push back against everyone who seemed to disagree with me. But then I realized I was missing out on a huge opportunity for learning. I began to see each interaction as a potential lesson, whether it was learning about setting boundaries, improving my communication skills, or discovering my own triggers. I started to grow at an exponential rate. I came to understand that even the harshest critics could become my greatest teachers. Principle 4. No one can hurt you unless you allow it. The unbreakable shield. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm, the wind howling and rain pouring, yet inside your home, you're warm, dry, and untouched. This is what inner peace feels like, a sanctuary no storm can penetrate. But how often do we leave that sanctuary unguarded, letting the words and actions of others batter us like an open window in a tempest? Buddhism teaches us a powerful truth. No one can hurt you unless you allow them to. The Buddha's words remind us of this self-reliance. No one saves us but ourselves. No one can, and no one may. In the same way, no one has the power to harm our inner peace unless we hand them the key. Yet, it's so easy to let someone else's actions take hold of us. A harsh comment at work, an argument with a loved one, or even a stranger's rude remark can spiral into hours or days of hurt. Why? Because we react. We take their storm and invite it inside, letting it unsettle our core. Consider this. If someone throws a stone into a river, does the river stop flowing? No, it ripples momentarily, but keeps moving forward. Life, too, is full of stones, criticism, anger, rejection, but we decide whether to let them sink us or flow around them. Think about a time when someone's words cut deep. Perhaps a colleague undermined you, or a friend betrayed your trust. The pain felt immediate and personal, but the truth is, their actions only had power because of your reaction. What if you could pause, breathe, and remind yourself that their behavior says more about them than it does about you? This is where mindfulness becomes your greatest ally. Mindfulness is the practice of being present, aware of your thoughts, emotions, and reactions without judgment. It creates a space between the stimulus and your response, giving you the power to choose how to act. Start small. The next time you feel hurt by someone's words or actions, pause and ask yourself, does this define me or them? Recognize the emotion, but don't cling to it. Let it pass, like clouds drifting across the sky. The lesson is simple, yet profound. Your peace is yours to protect. Build a resilient inner core by refusing to let others' storms shake you. Their words are like the wind, fleeting and powerless unless you give them weight. When you embrace this truth, life's challenges lose their grip on you. You remain steady, like the river that flows unaffected by the stones. Remember, no one can hurt you unless you allow them to. Choose peace, choose strength. I have a personal story about this. I used to work in a very competitive environment, where I often felt like a target for unfair criticism. I would internalize every negative comment, every slight, and allow it to chip away at my self-worth. But then, I began to practice mindfulness, taking the space between an event and my reaction. This gave me the clarity to realize that it was my perception of their words, and not their actual intention, that was causing me pain. From that day forward, the words of others began to lose their power over me. It was as if I had finally learned to put up my shield. Principle 5. Choose to remain unaffected. Turn envy into emulation, the compass of desire. Have you ever felt a pang of envy scrolling through social media, watching someone achieve something you've dreamed of? Maybe it was their career success, a loving relationship, or a lifestyle that seemed just out of reach. Envy is an emotion most of us know too well. It creeps in, making us feel small, unworthy, or stuck. But what if that same envy could become your greatest teacher, a force for growth rather than comparison? Buddhism offers a powerful perspective. Do not be jealous of others' good qualities, but adopt them yourself. This wisdom invites us to shift our mindset from jealousy to inspiration. Instead of seeing others' successes as a spotlight on what we lack, we can view them as blueprints for what's possible. Envy often stems from a place of self-doubt. We see someone thriving and immediately think, "Why not me?" But here's the secret: that spark of envy is a signal. It's showing you something you desire, something that matters deeply to you. The key is to use it wisely, not as a weapon against yourself, but as fuel for self-improvement. Imagine this scenario. A colleague gets a promotion you were hoping for. Your first instinct might be resentment or frustration, but instead of dwelling on those feelings, ask yourself, what qualities or habits help them succeed? How can I cultivate those same traits? This simple shift transforms envy into a plan of action. This principle has a modern application we can all embrace. Let's say you admire someone's discipline in fitness. Instead of envying their results, study their habits. Do they wake up early, plan their meals, prioritize consistency over perfection? Adopt those practices, tailoring them to your own journey. Here's a practice to turn envy into emulation. When you feel envious, pause and identify what triggered the feeling. Write it down. Then break it into actionable steps. If you admire someone's creativity, start a daily sketch or writing practice. If it's their confidence, commit to small actions that build your self-esteem, like public speaking or setting boundaries. The lesson is clear. Envy is not the enemy, it's a compass. It points towards areas of your life where you're ready to grow. By channeling that energy into emulation, you shift from comparison to empowerment, from stagnation to progress. Remember, others' successes are not barriers, but beacons illuminating the path ahead. When you adopt their strengths instead of envying them, you transform not just your perspective, but your potential. Envy fades, and in its place, you find inspiration, determination, and growth. I recall a time when I was first starting my business and feeling incredibly envious of other entrepreneurs who seemed to be achieving so much so quickly. Instead of letting that envy consume me, I made a conscious decision to study their success. I noticed that many of them had invested heavily in networking and skill development. This transformed my feelings from envy into action as I began to focus on bettering myself instead of wishing I was someone else. Principle 6. The power of acceptance, releasing the tug of war. Picture this. You're holding a rope in a tug of war with life itself. On the other end, life pulls with all its might. Unexpected changes, challenges, and situations you wish were different. The harder you pull back, the more exhausted and frustrated you become. But what if you simply let go of the rope? This is the essence of the power of acceptance. In Buddhist philosophy, acceptance isn't about resignation or giving up. It's about embracing life as it is, without judgment or resistance. The Buddha teaches us, accept what is, let go of what was, and have faith in what will be. Acceptance is not passive, it is freeing. It allows us to face reality with clarity, conserve our energy, and respond with wisdom. We often resist what we don't like. When things go wrong, we fight against reality, thinking, this isn't fair, it shouldn't be this way. But resistance only amplifies suffering. Imagine standing in the rain, angry at the sky for getting you wet. Your anger doesn't stop the rain, it only leaves you drenched and upset. Acceptance, on the other hand, is like opening an umbrella. It doesn't stop the storm, but it shields you from unnecessary discomfort, allowing you to move forward. Consider a relatable example. You lose a job or an opportunity you are counting on. The natural reaction is to resist, dwelling on how unfair or painful it feels. But that resistance keeps you stuck. Instead, acceptance allows you to pause, acknowledge the loss, and focus on what comes next. It's the first step in turning a setback into a comeback. Acceptance doesn't mean liking or approving of every situation. It means acknowledging the truth of the moment without wasting energy on what ifs or should haves. When you accept reality, you free yourself to act with intention rather than reacting from a place of frustration or denial. Here's a simple practice to cultivate acceptance. Start by noticing when you feel resistance in your daily life. It might be as small as being stuck in traffic, or as big as facing a personal loss. Instead of reacting, pause and take 3 deep breaths. Silently say to yourself, "This is how it is right now." Feel the weight of resistance lift as you acknowledge the situation without judgment. Then, ask yourself, what is the most meaningful action I can take next? Acceptance is not about giving up control. It's about recognizing where your control truly lies. You may not control external events, but you can always control your response, and in that response lies your power. The lesson is simple yet transformative. Stop resisting reality. Life will bring its storms, its detours, its unexpected turns, but when you embrace the present moment as it is, you conserve your energy for what truly matters, growing, adapting, and moving forward with grace. Remember, the rope of resistance only ties you to suffering. Let go of the tug of war, and you'll discover the peace that comes with acceptance, a peace that no storm can take away. There was a point in my life when I lost my job. I felt like all of my hard work had been in vain. I kept thinking about the unfairness of the situation and felt stuck in my resistance. I was unwilling to acknowledge what had happened. However, after a period of introspection, I began to embrace the situation and started looking at it as an opportunity for growth. I took on a new direction in life and began to see new opportunities that I would have been unable to see before. Principle 7. Live in harmony with nature, the rhythms of life. Have you ever watched the sunrise and felt an inexplicable sense of calm? Or listened to the rustle of leaves and found clarity in your thoughts? Nature has a way of grounding us, reminding us of a truth we often overlook. Life moves in cycles, and so do we. In Buddhist philosophy, living in harmony with nature means aligning ourselves with its rhythms, accepting its changes, and drawing inspiration from its balance. As the Buddha said, just as a candle cannot burn without fire, men cannot live without a spiritual life. Nature doesn't resist change, it embraces it, flowing effortlessly through cycles of birth, growth, decay, and renewal. Yet, in modern life, we often resist this natural flow. We cling to what we want to keep and push away what we wish to avoid. We chase endless productivity, ignoring the need for rest and renewal. But when we pause and observe nature, it teaches us that change is not our enemy, it is our teacher. Think of a tree in autumn, shedding its leaves. It doesn't resist the process or mourn the loss. It lets go, trusting that spring will bring new growth. In the same way, we must learn to release what no longer serves us, trusting that life cycles will bring new opportunities and renewal. Consider this. When was the last time you stepped away from the noise of daily life and immersed yourself in nature? A walk in the park, sitting by a river, or gazing at the stars can remind us of the vastness of life and our connection to it. Nature grounds us in the present moment and reminds us of life's impermanence, not as something to fear, but as something to embrace. To live in harmony with nature, begin by spending intentional time in it. Take a walk without distractions, observing the details, the patterns of the clouds, the sound of the wind, the texture of the earth beneath your feet. Reflect on how effortlessly nature adapts to change. Its resilience becomes a lesson for your own life. Another practice is gratitude. Each day, find one thing in nature to appreciate: a flower blooming, the warmth of the sun, or even the rain that nurtures the earth. Gratitude shifts your perspective from scarcity to abundance, helping you see life as a cycle of giving and receiving. The lesson is profound, yet simple. Nature thrives not by resisting change, but by embracing it. Align your life with this rhythm, and you'll find a sense of balance that no external chaos can disrupt. Remember, nature doesn't hurry, yet everything is accomplished. When you live in harmony with its flow, you too can find peace, resilience, and the strength to grow through life's seasons. I've always been a city dweller, always surrounded by the hustle and bustle of modern life. But about 2 years ago, I moved to the countryside, and I began spending a lot of time in nature. As I spent more time observing the change in seasons, the growth and decay of life, I started to develop a profound understanding of impermanence and the power of letting go. It was this connection to nature that really grounded me in my practice of peace. Principle 8. Practice ethical living. The ripples of action. Imagine a lake, so still and clear that it reflects everything around it perfectly. Now imagine throwing a single pebble into that lake. The ripples spread far and wide, touching every corner of the water. This is how our actions work in the world, small choices creating far-reaching impacts. In Buddhism, ethical living is the foundation of a peaceful life. The Buddha reminds us, what you think, you become. Our thoughts shape our actions, and our actions ripple out to shape the world. Living with integrity, honesty, and compassion creates harmony, not only for ourselves, but for those around us. Yet, in today's fast-paced and often self-centered world, ethical living can feel like a challenge. We're constantly pulled in different directions by pressures at work, conflicts in relationships, or the temptation to take shortcuts. But here's the truth. It is precisely in these moments of chaos that ethical living becomes our anchor, grounding us in values that bring clarity and peace. Consider a situation where you're faced with a difficult choice, perhaps at work, where a dishonest decision might offer short-term gains. The temptation is strong. But what happens if you choose the path of integrity instead? While it might seem harder at first, living ethically fosters trust, strengthens your character, and ensures peace of mind. Ethical living isn't about perfection. It's about alignment. When your actions match your values, you feel a sense of inner peace that no external success can replicate. And the opposite is true. When you act against your values, guilt and anxiety take root, disrupting your emotional balance. So, how can you practice ethical living in modern life? Start by reflecting on your core values. What truly matters to you? Honesty? Kindness? Fairness? Use these as your compass in decision-making. When faced with a tough choice, pause and ask yourself, does this action reflect the person I want to be? Another practice is compassion. Ethical living isn't just about avoiding harm. It's about actively doing good. Look for small ways to create positivity in the lives of others. A kind word, a helping hand, or even a moment of patience can ripple outward, inspiring others to do the same. The lesson is clear. Ethical living is not just a moral obligation. It's a path to resilience and freedom. When you act with intent and integrity, you create a stable foundation that no external chaos can shake. You become like the still lake, reflecting the beauty of life and spreading ripples of positivity in every direction. Remember, what you think, you become. Choose thoughts of kindness, honesty, and compassion. Let those thoughts guide your actions, and you'll find that living ethically isn't just about staying unaffected by life. It's about thriving in it. There was a time when I was given the opportunity to make a big financial gain at the expense of someone else. It was tempting to take the shortcut, and at first, I wrestled with the idea. However, after much thought, I decided that it was not in line with my core values, and I decided to reject that deal. While it was not easy, it was in choosing the path of ethical living that I felt truly at peace with myself. Principle 9. Cultivate gratitude, the abundance mindset. Imagine waking up to a sunny morning. You step outside, feeling the warmth of the sun on your face, hearing the birds chirp, and smelling the fresh scent of nature. But instead of noticing these gifts, your mind races to a long to-do list, past regrets, or future worries. How often do we overlook the beauty of the present because we're focused on what's missing? Buddhist philosophy teaches us to shift our attention from what we lack to what we have. As the Buddha said, let us rise up and be thankful, for if we didn't learn a lot today, we learned a little. Gratitude is not just a fleeting emotion, it's a practice, a lens through which we view the world. It has the power to transform our outlook, build joy, and fortify us against negativity. In modern life, gratitude often gets overshadowed by comparison. We see what others have and measure it against our own lives, focusing on the gaps rather than the gifts. But gratitude reminds us that true wealth lies not in possessions, but in perspective. It shifts our attention from scarcity to abundance. Consider this story. A farmer had a small plot of land and a modest home. One year, a storm destroyed part of his crops, and he felt despair. But as he walked through his field the next morning, he noticed the sunrise illuminating the remaining crops. At that moment, he chose gratitude, not for the loss, but for what endured. This mindset gave him strength to rebuild and find joy, even in hardship. Gratitude is not about ignoring challenges. It's about balancing them with appreciation for life's gifts. It's a shield against negativity and a source of resilience. When you focus on blessings, your mind becomes more attuned to positivity, making it easier to navigate difficulties. To cultivate gratitude in your daily life, start with a simple practice. Keep a gratitude journal. Each day, write down 3 things you're thankful for. They don't have to be grand. Maybe it's a kind word from a friend, a meal you enjoyed, or simply the breath in your lungs. Over time, this practice trains your mind to seek out the good in every situation. Another approach is to express gratitude to others. A heartfelt thank you to someone who has helped you strengthens relationships and spreads positivity. Gratitude is contagious. When you share it, you inspire others to do the same. The lesson is timeless. Focus on blessings rather than lack. Gratitude doesn't erase life's challenges, but it changes how you face them. By cultivating this practice, you build an inner joy that no external negativity can touch. Remember, gratitude is not just an emotion, it's a choice. And in choosing gratitude, you choose peace, resilience, and a life untouched by the weight of what you think is missing. I began my journey of gratitude by consciously choosing to appreciate the simple things, the small moments in my everyday life. I began keeping a journal, recording 3 small things that I was grateful for each day. Over time, this changed my perspective and allowed me to see beauty in the ordinary. It was through that practice that I began to notice that life, even in its challenges, was incredibly full. Principle 10. Trust the process and let go the flow of life. Imagine you're holding a tight grip on a rope, pulling with all your might, desperate to control the outcome. Your muscles strain, your mind races, and you feel the weight of the world pulling you down. But the more you pull, the more exhausted you become. What if, instead of pulling, you simply let go? This is the essence of Buddhist wisdom: trust the process and let go. The Buddha teaches us that attachment is the root of suffering. When we cling to specific outcomes or rigidly control every aspect of our lives, we only invite stress, anxiety, and disappointment. Life, in its unpredictable nature, cannot be controlled by sheer willpower alone. The more we try to control, the more we struggle. True peace comes from learning to release, to trust, and to flow with life as it is. Think about a river flowing to the sea. It doesn't question its path, nor does it resist the bends, obstacles, or changes in its course. It trusts that the journey itself is enough. In the same way, when we let go of our attachment to outcomes, we open ourselves to the richness of life's unfolding. We stop fighting against the current and begin to move with it. Consider the story of a young monk who was tasked with planting trees along the temple grounds. The monk was eager to see the trees grow tall and strong, and he spent days nurturing them. Yet, one by one, the trees withered and died. Confused and disheartened, he asked his master for guidance. The master smiled and said, "You've tried to control the process. Let nature take its course." The monk, though initially reluctant, surrendered. Over time, he witnessed new shoots springing up, stronger than ever before. By letting go of his need to control, he allowed nature to reveal its wisdom. In modern life, we often struggle with uncertainty. We want to know the future, to control the outcome of every situation, whether it's in our career, relationships, or personal growth. But uncertainty is not the enemy. It is a vital part of our journey. When we trust that things will unfold as they should, we free ourselves from the burden of constant worry. So, how can we apply this principle of letting go in our daily lives? Start by accepting that life is unpredictable. Instead of obsessing over every detail, focus on the present moment and the steps you can take today. Embrace the process of growth rather than fixating on a specific destination. Let go of rigid expectations and be open to life's surprises. Another key practice is mindfulness. When you notice yourself becoming attached to a particular outcome, pause and breathe. Remind yourself that the root of suffering is attachment, and the path to peace lies in releasing that grip. The lesson is clear. The root of suffering is attachment. When we let go of our need to control and trust the process, we experience freedom. Life becomes less of a struggle and more of a flow, guiding us to where we need to be. In the dance of uncertainty, we find true peace. Remember, trusting the process and letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means releasing the need for control and embracing the journey with openness and faith. Let go and watch as life unfolds in beautiful, unexpected ways. In my personal experience, I have often clung tightly to my goals and expected results. I became incredibly anxious when things did not go as planned. It was only when I started understanding the principle of letting go that I truly began to feel freedom in my life. When I stopped trying to control every single outcome, I opened myself to new possibilities and learned to enjoy the journey as much as the destination. Bonus Principle 1. Non-attachment in relationships: the dance of freedom. Think about a flower in a garden. It blossoms freely without being forced to grow in a specific direction or become something it is not. The beauty of the flower lies in its authenticity, its natural existence in the present moment. Relationships, too, flourish when they are nurtured by acceptance rather than controlled by expectations. In Buddhism, this is known as non-attachment, and it holds the key to building healthy, thriving connections with others. Non-attachment in relationships is not about detachment or withdrawing from those we care about. Rather, it is about letting go of the need to control or change others. Buddha's teachings remind us that attachment to outcomes, whether it's expecting someone to behave a certain way, meet specific needs, or act according to our desires, can create suffering. When we let go of these expectations, we free both ourselves and others to be who we truly are, without the weight of judgment or pressure. Think about a time when you've tried to control a relationship, perhaps by wanting someone to love you in a specific way, or by expecting a friend to always meet your needs. The result is often frustration, resentment, or disappointment. But when you release those expectations and allow the other person to show up as they are, something beautiful happens. The relationship transforms. It becomes one of mutual respect, understanding, and acceptance. Take, for example, the story of a young woman who constantly tried to change her partner, hoping he would become more like the person she envisioned. She was frustrated by his habits, his interests, and his way of thinking. But after a conversation with a wise elder, she was encouraged to practice non-attachment, accepting him for who he truly was, not who she wanted him to be. Slowly, she realized that her love for him deepened, not because he changed, but because she learned to see and appreciate him as he was. The relationship became more peaceful and authentic. In our modern lives, this principle is more relevant than ever. We live in a time dominated by social media, where relationships are often shaped by outside influences or unrealistic expectations. Many of us feel pressured to make our relationships appear perfect or to fit them into an idealized image. But genuine connection stems from emotional independence, where we accept and value others as they are, without trying to control or change them. To embrace this principle, start by reflecting on your expectations in your relationships. Ask yourself, am I trying to control or change the people in my life? Practice letting go of the need for others to meet your expectations. Instead, appreciate their individuality and create space for growth and authenticity. Letting go of attachment in relationships allows love to grow naturally. It fosters deeper, more meaningful bonds, grounded in acceptance and emotional freedom. By releasing control, you bring peace into your relationships and ultimately into your life. I used to believe that love meant control, that to protect the people I cared about, I needed to hold them tight and shape them into who I wanted them to be. This thinking led to many failed relationships. It wasn't until I began to understand non-attachment that I realized I could love people for who they were and not who I wanted them to be. This was such a huge shift in my thinking and allowed for love and connection that I was previously incapable of. Bonus principle 2. Silence as a shield, finding sanctuary amidst chaos. Picture yourself standing at the edge of a storm. The wind roars, rain beats down on you, and the chaos of the world feels overwhelming. In that moment, what if the best response wasn't to resist the storm, but to step back, close your eyes, and find stillness? In Buddhism, silence is more than just the absence of sound. It's a powerful shield, a sanctuary amidst chaos. It's the space where we pause, reflect, and choose to respond thoughtfully rather than react hastily. Using silence as a shield means creating moments of stillness to protect your inner peace, especially when life feels like too much. In our fast-paced world, we're constantly surrounded by noise, social media, work demands, relationships, and the endless stream of thoughts in our minds. Yet, within this noise, silence brings clarity. It gives us a chance to step back from the emotional storm and see things clearly. The Buddha often taught the importance of mindfulness, being fully present in the moment without judgment. In moments of stress or conflict, this principle becomes especially important. When we react impulsively, our emotions often take control, leading to actions we later regret. But when we allow ourselves a moment of silence before responding, we create space for wisdom to surface. In this quiet pause, we can think about our true intentions and choose a response rooted in clarity and compassion. Take, for example, the story of a young man working in a high-pressure job. One day, during a meeting, a colleague made a harsh comment that triggered a surge of anger in him. His first instinct was to retaliate, to defend himself, and escalate the argument. But then, he remembered the value of silence. Instead of reacting immediately, he paused, took a deep breath, counted to 10, and stayed silent. In those few seconds of stillness, his anger eased, and he was able to respond calmly and thoughtfully. The conflict de-escalated, and the respect between him and his colleague grew stronger. In our own lives, silence can serve as a refuge during times of stress or conflict. This principle isn't about withdrawing from the world, but about stepping back to avoid reacting from a place of heightened emotion. Whether it's during a heated argument, a tough conversation, or a moment of self-doubt, silence gives us the chance to gather our thoughts and respond with purpose. To bring this principle into your life, start by creating moments of silence each day. Even just a few minutes of stillness through meditation, mindful breathing, or quiet reflection can help you build resilience and stay grounded amidst life's challenges. The more you practice silence, the more natural it becomes to use it as a tool for managing stress and conflict. Silence is a shield, a powerful ally that safeguards your inner peace and helps you respond with wisdom. In the chaos of life, let silence be a refuge amidst the whirlwind of challenges and negativity that threaten to disturb our peace. I have personally found that the practice of silence has been incredibly transformative in my life. I began by simply taking a few moments each day to step away from the noise, to just sit in stillness and let my thoughts pass through me without judgment. I noticed that this practice created a space between my emotions and my reactions, giving me greater clarity and allowing me to navigate challenging situations with much more peace. It was like creating my own sanctuary of calm within the chaos. This practice was not easy at first. There was a pull to be engaged, to be busy, and at times it would feel almost unbearable. However, I continued the practice, and after a while it became more comfortable. I started to look forward to it each day as my way to recharge and process my thoughts. The wisdom of these Buddhist principles offers a sanctuary, a guide to navigating life's turbulence while staying grounded. Each teaching, from releasing anger to practicing gratitude, reminds us that true strength lies within. The storms of insults, envy, or inner struggles only have power over us if we let them. By mastering our reactions and building resilience, we not only safeguard our inner peace, but also transform our lives into examples of harmony and strength. These principles are not just abstract ideas. They are a call to action, a path to reclaiming the serenity and happiness often lost to modern stress and distractions. Picture a life where criticism cannot shake you, comparison does not weigh you down, and you feel deeply connected to the present moment. This is not only possible, it is well within your reach. Start by taking just one step, applying one lesson, and see how your perspective begins to shift. The path to inner peace starts right here, right now, with a conscious decision to put these principles into action. It is about embracing the journey, and not necessarily waiting for a specific destination to arrive. Let me share another personal anecdote about my journey with these principles. A few years ago, I felt completely overwhelmed by the pressures of my life. I was working long hours. I wasn't getting enough sleep. I was constantly comparing myself to others on social media, and I was also harboring a lot of anger from past relationships. It was like I had lost myself somewhere along the way. I was stressed, anxious, and felt completely disconnected from my inner self. It was during this time that I was introduced to these Buddhist principles. I began slowly, practicing one principle at a time, incorporating them into my daily life. I began with mindfulness, observing my thoughts and emotions without judgment. I then moved to practicing acceptance, embracing the reality of the present moment. It was a slow and gradual process, and it wasn't always easy, but over time, I began to see a transformation in my life. I found myself feeling much calmer, much more resilient, and much more connected to myself. The weight of the world seemed to have lifted. It was as if these teachings served as a compass, guiding me back to my true path. These principles are not some magical formula that will instantly eliminate all of life's challenges. Rather, they are practical tools that we can use to cultivate greater inner peace, resilience, and happiness. They are a guide to navigate our thoughts and emotions. They are also a guide for creating relationships and connecting with the world in a more meaningful way. The power in them lies in the conscious and continuous effort of incorporating them into our everyday life. It is not enough to just understand these teachings. We must actively practice them each and every day. It's like learning to play a musical instrument. You can read all of the books about playing an instrument, and you can watch people play an instrument, but until you actually pick up the instrument and start practicing, you'll never truly master it. The same is true of these principles. It is in the practice that we truly begin to understand the depth of their wisdom and the transformative potential that they hold. It's through this practice that you build an inner sanctum of peace that no storm can penetrate. So, I want to leave you with a few final thoughts. Firstly, be patient with yourself. This is a journey and not a destination. There will be times when you stumble, when you feel overwhelmed, when it feels like you are not progressing at all. That is completely okay. What matters is that you keep coming back to the practice, that you continue to take the steps, no matter how small. Secondly, be compassionate towards yourself. Do not judge yourself harshly for your imperfections. Recognize that you are on a continuous journey of self-discovery and growth, and that it is the process that truly matters. Lastly, remember that you are not alone in this journey. Many people have struggled with similar challenges, and many have found solace and strength in these ancient teachings. There is a community of people who are here to support you, to guide you, and to walk alongside you on this path. I am grateful that you have joined me on this journey, and I am excited for you as you begin to incorporate these teachings into your own life. I have always found that as we grow and learn, our lives become more fulfilling, and that is one of the most beautiful things that we as humans can experience. It is my deepest hope that these principles serve as a guide for your own life, and that they empower you to cultivate an unshakable sense of peace, resilience, and happiness. You truly do have the power within yourself. And now, I encourage you, begin by taking the first step. Let go of the need to control the destination, and simply start moving forward. Trust that as you journey down this path, you will find the strength and resilience you need, and in the process, you will uncover a sense of peace that you never thought possible. Remember the power you hold, the power to transform your life and be at peace, despite the circumstances that life may throw your way. So, there you have it, 10 transformative Buddhist principles, plus 2 bonus principles that, if you apply them, can help you achieve an unshakable sense of peace and navigate life's chaos with grace. It all comes down to mastering our reactions and building a powerful inner core. The storms will still rage, the insults will still be hurled, but you, like that serene pond, will remain calm and unaffected. Remember, your true power lies within. It is in that inner sanctum you create. These principles aren't just abstract ideas. They are a call to action, a path to reclaiming the serenity and happiness we all deserve. So I encourage you, take that first step. Begin applying just one of these principles into your life and see how your perspective begins to shift. This journey starts right here. If this video resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. What principle stood out to you the most? What personal examples do you have? Let's share our journey together. Don't forget to like and share this video to help spread the light of wisdom, and also subscribe for more uplifting teachings to guide you toward a calm and fulfilling life.